Oh, popped myself. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, as always, for watching Common Sense Fishing. So tonight's video, we're going to be talking about some more updated post-spawn fishing tips. We're going to be talking about some recent fishing adventures. Going to talk about the giveaway. So we got our items for last month's giveaway. So we'll show you guys. I just got to get them to them. So Mike, Dozer, and Ray, congratulations. So I got you a spinning combo and a lure pack, a spinning combo for the main winner and a lure pack for the secondary winner. So congratulations to you guys. Hey, what's up? Keeping it real, my brother. Is this Mike? Oh man, I had to reprogram everything now, so we're good. But how's it going? Thanks for jumping on tonight. So yeah, I picked up a nice little lose combo here, a speed stick spinning combo, the reactor. So it's black and green. It's a 7-foot medium action spinning combo. Feels pretty light, 10 ball bearing, so it's nothing expensive. But it was a where the what's happening? I think you let your membership lax, my brother. Where the heck is your badge? I don't think. Yeah, sometimes if the card expires or something, you gotta renew it. All that good stuff. How's it going, Charles Chuck? Nice to see you on tonight. So I was out at Lake Eastman this weekend on Saturday, and it was tough. It got super windy. It's been crazy windy. This last May has been a real mild one compared to previous years. It's not hot yet. It's very mild weather, and we have a ton of wind too. So um, it's been interesting, and I've been, the good old saying is throw a spinnerbait in the wind. Goodness, I hear the dogs fighting all crazy. So the old saying is throw a spinnerbait in the wind, and so that's what I've been doing a lot of lately. I've been having some success. I pulled out an 8 to 10 pound bass, and I looked at my footage, and I've got it on footage. It's hard to tell, but you can see that it probably, if you're looking in the water, you'd guess it's easy 6 to 8, but you don't understand that it's like 3 feet deep at that point. When I catch it on footage, when I'm originally seeing it, it's up at the surface, right a couple of inches from the top of the water, followed my lure in. So I got a clear look at it. But when I look at the footage, you can see this big ass shadow turn, move, and swim away. You can also see when I'm reeling my spinnerbait in, you can see a big wake come in like this, and then it stops and it goes down. And I'm like, no bite though. Like I tried doing some different stuff, but we'll talk about some tricks that I know that I'm going to try. The bass are also eating fry. We've seen them spitting that up already. The wind's been crazy. It's been like 10 plus miles an hour every day. Yeah, it's been nuts. So I highly recommend, if you're going to bottom bounce, like if you have to finesse or bottom bounce fish, I would throw a jig, something real heavy and that you can feel good. And when your line has all that slack and bow in it, and you get that little tap with a jig, because how heavy it is, you're going to feel that and catch more of your fish, I think, than sometimes with some of this real light stuff. If you got a big bow in your line, and if you're going to use finesse stuff like a Nico or a drop shot or net or something, I'd use a heavier one in this wind. But in this kind of stuff, I wouldn't even be throwing that. I'd be throwing things like a spinnerbait and a crankbait. And I was doing that all day, but at night we didn't stay really long and fish into the night. I wish we should have. And come the tournament, we didn't do really. I lost my last spinnerbait, so I went and bought a bunch more. And I lost my last spinnerbait, and I didn't really throw the crankbait because it was so windy. I was like, I should have stopped and thrown it with the wind and positioned the boat a correct way, but I was like struggling. And now, one thing, here's a tip: in the wind, you can throw a crankbait on a spinning rod in the wind, no problem, no backlash. So I'm going to be using this rod that I bought two of them. So one for Ray. Hey, so I got your setup right here. This is the almost $80. It's $80 after tax. Shit. Um, it's a Lose um, reactor speed stick. So I got one for me and one for you. And what I plan on using it for is I'm going to use it for throwing crankbaits and little spinner baits. So we're going to show you guys. That's a little tip of mine that when it's windy like this, screw all that. I got bait casters, right? But and I got some decent stuff, but fighting this wind can be insane. So a couple little tips is I'm going to be using 10-pound tests, but I'm also doing stuff like this. I'm going to show you guys a couple of my little tricks that I'm going to be doing this year. So I'll be putting Kitex on top of, I use double-bladed Colorado like that. So I don't like to use willow when it's real windy. Unless because when it's windy, the water usually gets a bit dirty. So, yeah, I got a bunch of spinner baits. But I'm going to show you guys a couple little tricks that I do. So they make these 1.5s as well. So they're not even, and they make ones as well. Where is it at? I think I have one. They make 1.5s, the 2.5s, and they make little ones. But they also make little mini spinner baits like this, like it's almost like a beetle spin. It's real small, right? So the bass right now are keyed in. So I've got a Colorado blade one, and I've got one like this. So what I'll do, sometimes that big gaudy spinner bait turns that bass off. And when you do something like this right here, so what I'll do is I'll either use a small Kitech, the 2.8s, or I'll use something like this. If I get short striked, I'll take this off and I'll go to a Kitech and I'll put a little Kitech on there. But this will give this spinnerbait a little extra weight to cast. And basically, I'll run this thing just like this right here. This is the old school style. Curly tail worm with a little mini spinnerbait right here. Colorado blade. When they don't want to hit a big old giant, look how small this thing is compared to this. But I got the big trailer on it. But you see, when they don't want to hit this thing, I'll throw this thing right here. And I wish I would have had some of these with me. Like I like this one right here too. One Colorado, one Willow. I wish I would have had that with me at Eastman, and I didn't have this either. This is my other go-to. And I'll put a Kitech as a trailer, right? Like it's all basically like a swim jig and an underspin combined. And you can pulse it. You can drop. You can stop reeling it and let it kind of fall down. And then when you go to reel, give it a little jig almost, and it pulses and it shoots forward. And then change your speed. You can do all kinds of stuff with a spinnerbait and work it like a crankbait almost. It's a spinnerbait. Work it like a spinnerbait, but you can change the depths while you're rolling it, so you can speed up and roll it really close to the surface like a wake bait, and then kill it almost, and it'll have some momentum and it'll die moving forward, and then pop it and then roll it slow in the middle. You can hit all kinds of different uh, strike zones basically with the spinnerbait. And one cast you can make multiple different presentations in one cast, and you can do some stuff with it that it's kind of harder to do with the crankbait. A chatterbait gives you similar flexibility. So for those of you guys who like fishing a chatterbait, it's kind of similar, but I like a spinnerbait. The way it feels, some of the blades have a little more thump to me. Chatterbait has a lot of vibration in itself, but I like the way a spinnerbait just works. And it seems to be a little bit more weedless for me the way that it's set up. The blades and the arm are kind of like one big massive weed guard, so you can take it, and in most cases you can actually run it through wood, you can run it through lots of vegetation, and you get lucky a lot of times and don't catch anything on that hook, which is another positive to a spinnerbait over certain lures. So thanks, boss. What are your thoughts on spinnerbaits versus chatterbait? I mainly throw, oh, look at that. Great question. So I mainly throw chatterbaits because that's where all of my confidence is. Dope, my bro. Won a tournament on Lake Hartwell with the Booyah. That's dope. Thanks, man. Pick something off your stand. Tell us a story about it we have not heard yet. Pick something off my stand here. Tell you guys a story that you have not heard about it yet. We can do that for a brief moment. The simplest one to grab and explain would probably be this. So this was fun when I got to go meet Nick Bosa and get an autographed football, so that was pretty cool. So that was cool getting to have, like, we got to have drinks and dinner with them, and then, like, we got to ask him questions and talk to him. And a couple of us, like, had jerseys or other things that he'd sign those too, but you didn't have certifications. But these are all autographed jerseys right here. I don't know if you could, yeah, all of those are. So one of them was signed by him too. But I've got two of his jerseys autographed. I don't know. There's a lot of stories up here. Some of this stuff is super old. Like, I have a Hank Aaron autograph. I have one up there that basically I got from a friend when we were, like, probably in our early 20s, because he was hurting for money. And I was always been a collector. And I know personally that he goes to those fan days where, like, where the guys go to, he used to go all the time with his dad, where they have, like, all not all of them, but a lot of the players from the team, and they have booths set up, and you get to go, like, get in line and get signatures and all that stuff. Well, he's got that ball filled up with some real big money names from the Giants, and then I've got one from the A's too. But I don't know, a lot of different weird stuff on my Funko Pops. Some of the stuff is old. Like, I have a Jerry Rice and a Joe Montana jersey autograph that I've had for a long time. But I don't know. Fun fact about his brain is the size of your pinky nail. Why do so many people overthink it? Bass brain. Yep. How's it going, Marco Houston? Nice to see you on tonight. But yeah, one of my favorite little tickets is I love a double-bladed Colorado spinnerbait post spawn. Slow roll it, put a Kitech on it, fish it parallel. And I'm also going to talk a little bit later on about pocket fishing versus parallel fishing. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you get followers, or you're getting short strikes on the big spinnerbait, throw the little one. Trust me, it's super old school, but sometimes it catches the bigger fish. When the bluegill are this size, when the baby bass, when they're eating on the baby bass, this is more of a realistic size of the actual fish that are in the water getting ate. So that's why I also stepped down and got a couple of 1.5s, and I got the smaller size crankbaits so that I can more match the hatch. And I also got a couple of ones as well in the tackle box, even smaller. So there's some big fish up shallow, a lot of males right now. And with this wind, though, if it's a slow bite, which it was at Eastman, I would basically use a jig, basically, And if it's a slow reaction bite you're looking at, I would be using a spinnerbait, because you can slow roll a spinnerbait so slow you're basically crawling it on the bottom like a jig, all the way to using it like a wake bait, where if you put a little speed on it and pop it up, you can actually get a bit of wake thrown off the top of the water, and you can get bass that'll come up like top water and it'll destroy your spinnerbait that way. It's so awesome when that happens. And a spinnerbait's a lure that usually when they get it, you're going to hook up. You're gonna hook up most of the fish that bite. If you're not, then there's something wrong. The trailer may be too big. Um, like I said, downsize the spinnerbait a little bit. They may also be going for the blades. So one of the other thing is then maybe move the blades in a little closer. Check your bar, make sure it's not bent out too much. So there's a couple little ways you can make sure you hook up more. You can put a stinger hook on, but I've never really needed one. If you just, it's almost like frog fishing with the spinnerbait. If you see the bite, no matter what, wait till you feel the bite some of the times. But with that being said, at the Delta and other places, I've used the spinnerbait and I've watched a bass come up, grab my spinnerbait and match the speed that I'm reeling it with, and almost the same trajectory, so that I didn't feel it, but I seen it clear as day. I'm like slow rolling my spinnerbait, and I watched this fish come up, grab it, and I watched my spinnerbait kind of move to the side just an inch or two, and then start doing this, start almost swimming off, and you're barely even feeling anything in your pole. Like, holy smokes, but you see it. In those instances, sometimes I definitely set the hook. But if you get an explosion bite, you wait to feel it before you set. Because I'll use these as wake baits a lot of the times. Believe it or not, you put a Kitech on it, this thing will swim 2 inches under the water with these big old blades making a nice big wake. So it's a super versatile weapon, and I know a lot of people, I think, like, I don't know, a lot of people overlook a good old classic spinnerbait with a couple different modifications. You can put some worms on it, straight tail, curly tail. You can put creature baits on them, little crawdad trailers. You can put, I like to put swim bait trailers on them. So, anyways, that's my little spinnerbait talk for tonight. I just wanted to get that out of the way, show you guys that I think a mini spinnerbait is something a lot of people overlook. There's a lot of different things you can do. So also what I'd usually do is I'd probably take this right here and shorten it to where the hook was coming out right about here or so that my main body was right here and my tail only came out maybe this much, so I don't have so much of it dangling behind the hook. But the main target, even though this is the flexible part, bass always try to eat a fish by the head. So it's going to get this hook anyways. This shouldn't be a detractor. It shouldn't get me short strikes. If anything, what'll happen is after a fish or two, the tail will get ripped off. And then you'll start thinking you need to put another worm on there, right? But sometimes you don't even need the trailer. Just throw the mini spinnerbait itself. And it'll get some of them bass that were reluctant to pick the bigger one up. They'll pick this one up on a tougher day. And if you don't want to finesse fish and you want to throw and cover some water, little mini spinnerbait can be a super killer post spawn, especially when those little bluegills start coming up to spawn and harass the fry, stuff like that. So what's the new streaming schedule? I think I'm going to start joining the morning one because I got to get up like 2 a.m. for work. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at probably doing one on my Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. So maybe a Wednesday or something. And then I'm looking at maybe doing a Tuesday or Thursday or something like that and doing a daytime one, either morning or midday. It's just work's going to definitely throw a wrench in that when it gets summertime. So I'll have the daytime one will have to swing around depending on my availability. So that's going to be the kind of crutch about that. So, but we'll try to nail it down at a specific time, like perhaps either 9 to 11, 7 to 9, something like that, 8 to 10. I don't know, some kind of a preferable time frame. If not, maybe a lunchtime slot, like 11 to 12 or 11 to 1. It just all depends. That way I can actually still get work done in the summertime. I can run a couple morning calls, come back, be all sweaty and tired, do my live stream, and then go back and go make some more money because summertime is going to be savage. So, but yeah, so the daytime ones, those will, be ones that become an issue once work picks up like that. But definitely want to start doing some more daytime stuff. So right now it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday for these nighttime ones. So I'm thinking Tuesdays and Thursdays will work great for a daytime one. So we'll hammer that out and let you guys know because I got to get these polls out to everybody. I've got about say a couple more days, and I've got a big fishing trip coming up. No, the May giveaway is going to be soon. So I just was talking about the last giveaway. This is what the guy won. So I got him a loose speed stick combo, and I bought myself one. And what I'm going to throw on this is in the wind when I'm at the delta, when I'm at the lakes, wherever, and I'm trying to make casts into the wind or into specific pockets. I'm trying to make perfectly controlled casts. I'm actually like a ninja warrior with the spinning rod because it's what I've learned and what I've fished since I was like 15. So when the conditions become bad, instead of not throwing what you want to throw because of backlash or other issues, then I'm going to go to that spinning rod. So I want to have one set up for a reactionary setup. So like something I can throw a medium size to light size jerk bait, something I could throw a 2.5 and below square bill, something that will throw a half ounce or smaller spinnerbait. And if I needed to, I could use it for something like a shaky head, a Ned rig, possibly, or a Nico rig. But I don't know if I would probably use it for drop shot or nothing. But it's going to have multiple purposes. I'm going to put 10-pound fluoro on it and just try to have that drag set in perfectly. And depending on where you're at, you get some big bass at the California Delta. I've just had a few of them break my heart because they were just too strong and I couldn't control them. I hooked them on long casts and, they were peel and drag. And if I would have stopped them, they would have snapped my line for sure. They were just so massive. And I've had them run me into docks, take me forever underneath like 5 or 6 sets and eventually snag up or pop off. It's just been, I've lost a few like that, but I've also caught a few 8+ pounders on 10-pound test with 2.5 square bills and also with some Cincos and a couple other different lures. So I've caught some monsters out of the Delta with that exact setup. Next Tuesday, I believe we should be on. If not, I might be. I don't know if that's when I'm at Clear Lake. I have to check. Yeah, you got to be at work at 4 a.m. Let me double check because I know I'm going to Clear Lake soon. I forget. I think it's supposed to be on the weekend. I better make sure. I just forget. I don't really trip or care about it. I'll get ready last minute, Oh, what was it, Mark? Sorry, folks, I'm checking something. The 13th through the 15th. I think it's going to be something like that. Let me get my calendar out. Where the hell is it at? This Tuesday, so tomorrow, I'm working tomorrow and Wednesday. I think we were talking about. So you're talking about the 17th, right? So yeah, I'll be able to fish the 17th for sure. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got that loose combo for the winner of the giveaway last month. So the members, so we did two. So occasionally every month, all members get a giveaway every month. And then every once in a while, I'll do a subscriber giveaway. And so the subscriber giveaway one, I gave him his choice on what he wanted. So these are like $15 plus lures each, So he wanted some LV 500s, and then I got him a Biggie Papa. This is like 45, $50 right here, and then I'm gonna give him one of these spinner baits. So, and then this is like almost $80 right here. But I like the way it felt in my hand, and I tested its flexibility, and it feels like it would do me perfect for the position that I'm trying to fill and show you guys. So it's about an $80 combo. I'm going to put $10, 10-pound fluoro. I mean, I might sometimes throw 12, but I think I'm going to stick with 10. I've gotten much better over the years of fishing in control, and unless it's like a 10, 12 pounder, and it's at the Delta, then I'm probably pretty good. I got chances at landing it. So, um, it's not a super expensive setup, but it's decent, and we'll take it out there, and we're gonna try to catch some fish on it, and see if on the channel here I can get something nice on it and show you, how it'll handle under pressure. But I also want to maintain doing a few videos with it as a proven point. I'm gonna do a small series on the multiple versatility um, functions of a medium action spinning rod that's the right one, and the durability and decentness of a nice cheap one versus, I have an expensive one too, but they're kind of really meant for whatever purpose they're meant for. They're not meant to be versatile, use it for everything rods. And these ones have just enough flex. They work for crankbaits and stuff like that, but they're also stiff enough that they can work for a lot of worm rods, even like I said, light to medium jerk baits. So there's a lot of functionality out of a nice medium spinning rod. And then when the wind gets howling, you can actually cast pretty decent. You can make these nice low sidearm right to the water casts, and your drag, even if the wind, you don't have to worry about your over spooling. Even if you can do that with a bait caster, even with the super expensive reel, just the wind can be a bastard. And in high wind with the spinning rod, it can make your cast just a lot better for me, anyways, because it's what I grew up fishing. So and a lot of us have. So that way, I want to kind of show the different stuff it can do. Throw some top water on it, some smaller top water. The key is just having the drag set in the right line. So perhaps maybe 12-pound max. It might get changed out occasionally if I snap a few fish off, if I make a few heartbreaks, then you'll see me go up to 12. But the lowest I'll go is 10 if I'm big fish hunting with this. I don't need this, won't be my finesse rod. So it's not going to have 8, it's not going to have 6, although it's perfectly capable of handling that. It's going to have 10, but with 12 max. Because of the size of the rod and reel, you can't put anything over 12 on it. So you get some high quality 12-pound test, and you'll get enough on your spool, and you usually won't have line issues. But you'll only get so much on there. You snap your stuff or you tie enough times, then you have to redo the whole spool, because then you get short casts. So there's some drawbacks, to using 12. But if you're power fishing, it can help. Now you can use mono if you want the stretch. I prefer fluoro for a couple of different reasons. And I might go against the grain of what professionals or other people say, but I say the way my mind works is when I get that bite, I want to set the hook as quickly or as efficiently as possible if I know it's in the fish's mouth, right? So I feel the bite, and I want to be able to set the hook. So I want the sensitivity of fluoro. Another thing is a lot of the time if I'm using a spinner bait or a crankbait, fluoro, because it sinks, will allow you to run your lure just a little bit deeper, easier. While mono, I have this tendency to want to pull it up a little bit. Um, Fluoro, like I said, is way more sensitive, and then it doesn't really have much stretch. so that when the fish bites and you set the hook, the fish gets all of that hook. Now, to prevent yourself from snapping your line is a controlled hook set so you don't go buck wild, proper drag set, and a pole that is flexible enough. You don't want something that's too stiff, but you don't want something that's so flexible it's like a trout rod. Then it won't have the ability to throw a lot of different lures. Then it would be maybe a small crankbait, a small a type of rod that you want to have that kind of action for, like a small spinnerbait or a small crankbait or something, where you want to kind of bend in the middle, so to speak. You want a little bit more flexibility, right? Um, but that takes all the awesomeness out of the whole setup. So if you want something that has a lot of different possibilities that doesn't require a lot of line changing, 10-pound test is stronger than you think. It can handle big fish, but it's as lighter than you think, and it allows for finesse fishing even if you had to without changing your whole setup. You could drop shot on 10-pound test unless it's the worst of worst days where they're super line shy. You can still bottom balance or do stuff with it, but at the same time you can still use a spinner bait or a crankbait. Just always remember what lure you're using, and also know that certain lures, if you're using fluoro, are going to require a lot less of a hook set, but you want to have enough of one. So and then you want your drag set, where if you over hook set out of, let's say, just an abundance of caution, or you start to get bit, but let's say the fish is just jamming away. So you feel the bite, but it starts pulling your pole like this. The fish is basically at that point almost already hooked. And then you turn around and gorilla ape hook set on it. You're going to put so much tension on that, you're going to probably break the line if it's 10-pound test. But if your drag set enough, you'll compensate for that. So, there's just kind of trying to dial in a fine line. But I fished with the medium action spinning rod. This has been my bread and butter for most of my life, is something like this, because I didn't want to buy cheap. I wasn't one of those. I didn't want no Zebco push button setup, right? And I couldn't afford nothing fancy, and I didn't know how to use a bait caster. So I always used a nice medium action spin-in combo, and I learned they had different ones, different actions, and then different brands had different versions of medium, right? So you just feel it and you would know if it felt right for what you're going to use it for. Very rarely, we'd have a couple medium heavies, for some bigger stuff, and that was what we considered big. We'd have the bigger reels a little bit, where we could use 12 or 15-pound test, you know and those would be our deep water cranking or our other stuff, top water stuff, 7'3" spinning, stuff like that, with a little bit bigger size reel series. So that's kind of how I grew up fishing, and it works. It really does. So, you can pick your poison, fish however you want, right? But I'm gonna do I do as well. I'm gonna fish everything I got in my boat, from bait caster, finesse, to whatever catches the fish, right? But I'm gonna do a couple of videos on different ways of using that. So you guys look out for that. They'll be out, coming out periodically here and there. I'll be dropping a few. I'm trying to put out more like sharing information, more talkative, but more entertaining, hopefully, and less just like, here's another fish, type thing. New Hogan was okay, kind of slow, caught 3 nice ones. Delta Giants, yeah, Delta Bass Pro 10-pound testo is pretty strong. Yeah. What's the news? Yeah. So, New Hogan, yeah, it was tough to figure out at first, but I did all right. And the last few days with this wind, I can't imagine, how it would really be with the mud lines and dirt lines, and what parts of the lake they would or wouldn't be with the wind blown side, or from where the wind starts or where it ends. You know, the theory is all the stuff's going to get blown over there, then all the bait fish is going to move over there, or are they going to be up against the shore where the wind's coming because they're blowing bugs, crickets, and other stuff, onto the shore? They eat top water, mess with it, right? So kind of there's those old, people try to figure out, well, which side of the lake are they on? Well, that's like old school thinking, but sometimes that's how I'll be thinking, like, what, and that'll at least get me to check stuff out, whether that had anything to do with it or not. I have no clue. But I'll be like, well, let's go check this side of the lake, and we'll go see, and go look at the shoreline and try to pick what looks appropriate for that time of year. And then if nothing, go to the opposite side. Same thing with sun. Hey, are they in the shade? Maybe they're in the super sun. Where's the sunny bank? Maybe they're sunning on rocks or something. Or where's wood? Find stuff like that. So and just kind of key stuff. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's how you find a good pattern. Sometimes it's how you get some of the big ones. But weirdest thing I snagged and pulled out of the water. Oh, I got a great story for you guys. So when I was about 15, 16 years old, my family had some issues. My mom had some issues. I had to go live with my uncle David in Sacramento, right? And I stayed in like the ghetto. I went to Luther Burbank High School in Sacramento. I walked to school every day, but my uncle David liked to fish. And that was really the only thing, like, because he was super hardcore Christian, like church going, and I was this wild rebel kid who had like had a troubled life and a troubled past, and was having to stay there. That I didn't want to be there, and he didn't want me there. But out of the, thank God he was letting me be there, right? And but we had a one thing in common, definitely, was fishing, and he loved bait fishing. So he loved to striper fish and catfish, right? And one of the first fishing trips we go on, he's telling me this story about how for the last like month he's been hearing this monster jumping in there. And he's been trying to catch it. He's been coming back to the spot. And it's a slough called the Pump House Slough that's right off of like right around by Silver Bend or something, right past Freeport on the Sacramento River. And there's a big pump house in the river, and then there's a slough right there. And he had been talking about. So he brings me fishing. We go out there. We're fishing all night. We catch a couple 2-3 pounders, right? And at the very end, he's like, "It's time to go." He wants to go. He starts packing up. I'm like, "One more cast, Uncle David." And I cast out there, and my bait sits for like not even 2 minutes. And then he's like, "We got to go." So I start reeling it in, and we're using like mackerel or sardine or something, and there's still the big old chunk. And so it's spinning like this, and it's going through the water. And all of a sudden, this monster fish comes out and just hammers it. My Uncle David's, "Oh, you got it. Oh my God." He's like trying to coach me through it. He runs down to the shoreline. I'm fighting it, and it starts just jumping. And it's a huge, huge, beautiful salmon, right? So it's jumping out the water, going all crazy. And we get it in. It was just the most beautiful, awesome, big ass, silver, clean, perfect salmon. And he's all, "You got the fish that's been harassing me for a month. You lucky bastard," right? So we take it home, we grill it. Now that's just, so I just wanted to build it up. Like, so I was excited, right? So we go on another trip, and we go similar. And so uh we go to like, I think the Pump House Sioux again, or somewhere similar. And he catches like a 1 or 2 pound catfish. I get about a 3 pound catfish, and we got our bait out, right? And my pole gets rocked, boom, and I set the hook, right, and it's huge. Whatever else is just right, and I'm pulling, and I'm reeling, and I'm talking hella smack to my Uncle David, like, "Yeah, who's got the big fish now?" or something, because I think no, he had actually caught like a 5 or 6 pounder, I think, too. And so for some reason, I was giving him a hard time, like making fun of him, laughing at him. And I was like, "Yeah," I was like, being all competitive and making fun of him. And I get it into shore, and it's a giant propane tank that I had somehow dragged out. And he started laughing at me so hard, because I guess in the current it had hit into my line and my hook. And I thought, because every time I'd pull it up, the current would pull it back, and then I would fight it, and it was coming in. And because it wasn't perfectly shaped, and the way I had it hooked, it was wobbling and moving. So it was doing like this, and I swore it was a big ass fish up until I pulled it out the water, and it was this giant propane tank. And my uncle David, he started rolling, busting up, laughing, pointing at me, like clowning the shit out of me. The rest of the night, he wouldn't let it rest. And this was early on too, like I think midway through or less. It was so funny. I don't know. I've caught a few different things, but that was one of the more memorable things, let's just say. So, hey, Eric, nice to see you on. I'm still using old school strand fishing line, catching monster Delta bass. There you go. Do people get duped and overthink fishing gear? That's right, Big Bass King. They sure do. I mean, let's put it this way: it doesn't hurt if you have all the money to get a more sensitive, more lighter rod, dialed in for this and that with a special super reel to match it, the line, all the high end stuff. And then, what really hurts, or what really just makes people who even aren't, they may even be okay at fishing, but can make them great. Stuff like live scope. I mean, the fish finders these days has gotten towards like having a camera down there. You could just watch the fish. And it's become almost, like cheating in a sense. It's taken a lot of the skill out of it. If it not in all senses and not do always the guys with live scope win for sure, but it's just one more tool. So it seems like, of course, if you have the money and you can afford it, but I think when you're good at fishing, you can take a 50 to 70, $80 Walmart combo, spool it up with some $5 line, and grab a tackle bag of some $5 and under lures, spend $100, all together, maybe 150, and have yourself a few months worth of fishing lures and literally go out and slay them with the cheap old spinning rod. And if you're good at fishing, you can actually do that. And it's crazy. It's just I haven't fished like that in a long time, but I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna go back to my roots for a few videos, and because there are some times when I wish I had the right spinning rod set up, but I always have my spinning rod set up for finesse gear with 8 pound or 6 pound test. And then the ones that I do have with 10 pound, they're usually too stiff, they're not what I want. And so this one's decent. So I'm going to use it with the full intentions of power fishing with it on a medium scale, basically, though. So finesse power fishing and medium power fishing, not heavy power fishing. That's still going to be done either on my bait caster, or I would use, like I said, like a 7.6 or something, medium heavy rod with a bigger reel so the spool can hold bigger line, and I can put like 15 or 17 pound, or something like that if I'm going for big fish or striper fish and stuff like that. Then I'm going to use a little different gear. But I don't have anything like that. I haven't done that kind of fishing in a long time. Hey, Cam, say nice to see you on tonight. So Eastman was crazy. Any chance a newbie can get good without live scope? Oh, of course you can. So you just put in some practice and work, and then pay attention to what works and what you catch fish on, because we're all different. So you will eventually find your groove or how you like to fish. It doesn't hurt to watch fishing channels, learn, read about it, learn the fundamentals. Maybe I should do a few videos on those, because even though it's like we all think we know it, some fishermen may not. Like when to use silver versus gold, and what kind of water conditions should you use gold, and what kind of water conditions should you use silver. There's actually technically a right answer, but sometimes fish break the rules. They do all kinds of fun stuff. And then when to use darker colors versus lighter colors. And there's an objectionably a right answer, to where if you asked 150 proportionally of them will say this is, if you ask so many pros or good guys, right? They're going to tell you. And so, like, I spent a lot of time reading the little Bass Pro magazines back in the days, Bassmaster, stuff like that, sitting on the toilet, reading all these cool different articles and magazines and tips and tricks, and I watched my share of videos back when YouTube first came out in like 2006 or 7. I was in my mid 20s, like 25, 26. And I was fishing with this cheap crap, trying to dial in and get some little tips maybe here and there. But most of what I learned too now is just organic, and it's not hard. So you don't need live scope. It's just on a competitive level for big money or money. It's almost like it does start to matter nowadays. You can probably place and get a check, but if you really want place with those big fish, live scope can play a key part in that. When you can see a double digit chasing your bait down from 50 feet away, and you don't have to spot it, and you can start either killing your bait to see if doing something different initiates a strike, or to erratically move your bait, or to speed your bait up all of a sudden. And you can actually watch the fish to see what can cause its interest to seem to pike or turn off. And you can dial those little bastards in. It's crazy. I've been on a boat with live scope, and it's pretty unique. We did good, and we caught many fish because we knew live scope, we had it. And had we didn't have live scope, see, the one that we were fishing with on the boat that I was with, you could see down as well as out and forward. And so he would scan and move around and then say, oh, there's some over here like 40 feet away from us, where a traditional fish finder isn't even going to see that on its scope, on its cone, right? So it's able to see things in a different way because it combines like 360 with the down scan, and it computes it all in a way where it waves out like this. And then it tells them how far from the boat it is. And it even places the fish so you can see it coming at your bait and everything. It's nuts. And it's like when you get to those dialed in and you start finding schools of bass, it's game over. It's like you're gonna murk them. You'll figure out what turns them on or off. Um, it's insane, uh, what live scope opens up. Basically, it's a whole nother world. Basically, live scope is to fishing fish finder wise what spot lock was for the trolling motors. Right, there's the handheld this and that. There's the contour follow. There's the auto deploy, blah blah blah, self launch, this and that crap. But all of that, none of it matters if it can't spot lock. Spot lock and the ability in any condition to make your boat just sit still, like as if you're on land, is an innumerable value to your mental processing power to not have to balance if there's waves or wind or rain or whatever or nothing, but balance on one foot and move your trolling motor and then work your lure and feel and process and then try to set the. If you're sitting there like you're on land and you don't have to worry about that trolling motor, you're much more prepared for a better hook set. Your mind is just quicker, sharper. You don't have to worry about control, and your brain isn't processing that the wind's coming at X amount of hours in this direction. Your boat's tailing out this way. You're trying to fish this way. You need to keep the boat in this position, yada, yada, this much speed, this much that. While you're trying to fish, that's just subconsciously, that's too much you're putting on your brain. If you just spot lock and chill, then it opens up the ability for you to catch much more fish. A lot of guys, I see them, even if they have spot lock, they fish too damn fast. They move down the shoreline, making cast after cast after cast, thinking they're fishing efficiently, when really what I like to do is stop, spot lock, fish an area like I'm on shore, then unspot lock and move. Almost like if I'm in an area with fish, that's how I fish it. If I'm catching fish, I don't move until I stop. I try multiple angles. I'll try different lures before I move on. Sometimes they get tuned into a certain lure. You catch 3, 4 fish on a spinnerbait, throw a Cinco. You catch a couple on that, throw a crankbait, try something else, throw a jig, switch it up. You'd be surprised how many fish you can keep catching in one spot. So, but the spot lock is super badass, right? Well, live scope is way better than that to fish finders. So fish finders help tell you where there's fish at, if they're here or they're suspended, but not real time movements and action, not advanced forward looking like what is a side scan is all right, but that doesn't, it's really hard to read side scan and to spot fish and separate fish from rocks and stuff. I know there's a lot of good YouTube channels that show that, but it's easier if the fish are underneath you, which just rules out 99% of the lake, because you're this little boat in this big wide lake and your beam is going down underneath you. You're missing out so much. But with that live scope, you can literally sit there and then you can take it and beam out in the front 100 feet or whatever, and then scan it left to right, and then oh, there they are, and hone in on them, and then stop, and then fish from wherever you want, and then oh, there's no more fish there. Do a 360 real quick. Oh, we see a few out here. Go get them, right? Or if you notice there's not much on it, pull up, take your big motor, go somewhere else, drop that thing, right up, just checked out. Oh, there they are. It's like freaking, it's so cheating, being able to see in front of you 100 yards, like a football field away almost, and know, or 100 feet, a third of a football field away, and know there's freaking 5 bass over there. Oh, and there's a big one with them. Like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy. That's how good it is. Now, I don't hate the player, hate the game, right? So if you got the money, I ain't mad at you. I would like to have it too. It's just there's, because of how expensive some of this stuff is coming, it's creating two tiers of fishermen. Those who can afford that kind of stuff at this point. High-end spot lock, the ghost trolling motor with these live scope, fish finders that tie in together, and they're big as little freaking TVs that we used to have when we were kids. You know what I mean? It's insane. And some of us can afford it, some of us can't. I'm in the camp that cannot afford it. And so, of course, we grumble and we bitch a little bit, but that's where skill, you still see skill winning out in the end, guys still cracking them. But like I said, it's just getting more and more to where it's like a poison pill, it's separating, it's making it almost like video game fishing. And so only the elite, will be able to compete on that level, even in, let's just say, the local field, where it's just like a donation at that point, dang near. But I don't know. I don't like to get too negative on it like that, because that's how I can kind of see it. But at the same time, it's like whatever. I just want to get out and fish, have fun. Tournaments get me excited. They're challenging. They make you think outside the box. They make you analyze what you might have done differently or could have done differently or better, what you did right or wrong. And they just put a little more emphasis behind your fishing than a good old fun fishing trip, where maybe you're not putting two and two together why one trip was a little more successful than the other. But when you're tournament fishing, you're a little bit more glued in on those statistics and those stats and that information. And I think it just makes you a little bit of a better fisherman to fish against better guys. And especially if they're truthful when weigh-in comes in and they're telling you how they won them, it opens up your horizons into next time you encounter similar conditions that you could try those things. You know what I mean? So the best of us should still be able to adapt and admit when we're wrong or just we're not on it. And then even then, some of us have, like I'll admit it right now, it seems like I'm going through a slump, like fishing wise. I've been getting fish up to 5 pounds. I haven't broken, I think, five and some change this year. Uh, I've gotten plenty of decent ones, but nothing over five, or barely like 5.5, nothing six yet. And so it's just been an awkward year. I mean, I've had a double digit every year. We've had lots of eights and other, nice other fish in the boat, sixes and sevens. But this one's been a more of a numbers year and less of a size. But it's been a weird one. I think with the weather, with the lakes doing what they're doing, with all this wind. And I've been fishing a little bit less than last spring. I did probably more fishing, but it's crazy. It's what this spring's been a little odd. It's been weird. So I don't know. Maybe if you guys been had a great year, some guys I don't know been tough, but you just I analyze, try to figure out what I'm doing wrong, and then you got to remember too. Sometimes like you're fishing a place or fishing a time or pattern of the past, but for some weird reason that pattern may not hold then, and so Being able to look back, and that's also another good reason why I do my fishing videos too, is look back and analyze what you're doing in certain conditions. You can find yourself, oh yeah, last year when it was like this, I was killing them on top water or a rigs or whatever. I haven't done none of that stuff this year. What am I thinking, right? So it allows me to go back and catalog what worked or didn't. But this year, I think the weather's played a big factor, and then also, like I said, some fishing. So, but I want to get out there and just I'm going to keep at it. I have a feeling a big fish is due. I think I'm going to catch one that's either just under 10 or 10. I do it every year, but I think I might because this time it might be post spawn. Um, be my luck to catch a 13, but she's not 13 anymore, but she would have been when she was spawned, but now she's like 10, 5, 10, whatever, or get one that should have been 10, 11 pounds, but because it's all skinny, 8.5 or something, I have a feeling there's a big fish coming for me. It's either going to be at the Delta or the Clear Lake trip here. But I'm not giving up on power fishing. I'm going to stick with it most of this year and less finesse fishing. If you guys haven't noticed, I haven't been doing a lot of Ned rig, drop shot. Been doing some Nico rig fishing if I'm finesse fishing, but even that, I'm also doing a lot more jig fishing already. So I should have been pulling out the jig a while ago, but we can get kind of stuck in our ways, you know what I mean? And so that's why I've been kind of avoiding a lot of the finesse stuff and doing a lot of power fishing. But that's my roots. And I'm hoping, usually when you do power fishing, you're going to catch a little bit less fish, but you're going to catch a lot more bigger fish. So here's hoping to that, right? Amen. Exactly, Chufu. So we're gonna read some comments here. Sometimes I get caught up. So it's not everything. It is nice, but it can help eliminate water. Hey, fishing time. When you're trying to look around, you can use that and make sure um, there's even fish there. So uh, when trolling, how much line do you put out first time trolling this year? To be honest, I don't do a lot of trolling. I don't have downriggers. I'm not a trolling master. I would defer those questions to a different channel or a different fisherman. What I do know of trolling, though, I'll actually troll for bass when I'm going from one location to another, being lazy, eating a sandwich or doing something. Um, as long as I'm not in a tournament because it's not legal. But if I'm just kind of bored, and I want to have my lure in the water. And sometimes I'll just kind of check in, like, I wonder if there's anything doing it. And I'll control it with my trolling motor and my reel. Sometimes I won't even barely reel at all. I'll just troll and cover long distances. Then I'll let out a little bit of line and then reel some in, do some different things and mess with my trolling motor speed. But I'm still trying to get from point A to point B, just kind of munching the sandwich, occasionally leave it in my mouth and play with my setup, let a little line out or in. And I caught a lot of fish doing that, actually, having fun. But trolling for trout, I couldn't honestly tell you, so I don't use that kind of stuff. But if I'm trolling for bass, you want to make sure your line's out far enough where it's not directly behind the boat. But you don't want it so far where you don't get a good hook set and that your line's so far out. It could also get tangled underneath the boat and the motor, all kinds of stuff. So you want to make sure you have control where your rod and your lines out. That's why they should always be out to the side or placed towards the back of the boat. If you're going to troll from easy on a long line, for your line to slowly make its way like right under, and then even if you're not running the motor, it slowly spins. Water resistance. Some will, some won't. Thing just your line can get it and get caught up in it and then spin it up, and not fun. So, yeah, not a trolling pro. Yes, spot lock is the biz, Gerbs. If I wanted to upgrade one thing on your boat, spot lock is it. It's a big quality of life thing and makes fishing in the fin way more doable. Oh yeah, spot lock to me was the most important factor of finder above anything. The ability to plant myself in one position. See, power poles are good and all, but you can spot lock in deep water. The only thing about spot lock is sometimes the wind, you'll want to fish a certain shore, but the wind will be smashing against the shore. Hey, Mike, nice to see you on tonight. While I caught you, I want to get you your lures. So I got your lures. I'm gonna reach. I want to make sure we get connected. So if you want me to ship them to you, get a hold of me so I can get your address again. Because I'm probably burned out, forgot it. Don't know where I'd be at. My phone would have like a million messages to search. I'm gonna also include a spinnerbait setup in there for you too. So I wanted to get those out to you. So make sure you reach out to me through Facebook or Instagram, or if you have my cell phone, just remember, just text me and tell me. So I'm pretty sure you do. So cheers to power fishing. Amen to that. Yep, spot lock, man. Spot lock is the number one thing. Let's give you guys some tips though. Is let's say there's a shoreline you want to fish. However, the wind is going this way. So if you spot lock and you're trying to fish like this, the wind is going to push your boat into shore, right? So you have to spot lock with the consideration of how long your boat is, so that when it swings, it'll plant your boat at a certain spot away from shore, right? And if you want to be out away from the thing, fishing at it, or if you want to be parallel, what you can do, believe it or not, like at the Delta or some, it's crazy windy, spot lock, the boat swings and the back gets kind of close to shore. Then I just walk from the front to the back and I fish out the back and I fish parallel like I like and how I always try to talk to people about. And I fish parallel for a while. And I'll throw a couple crankbait casts this way. I'll throw a couple this way, maybe throw a few spinner baits this way, maybe out off of that weed edge, then maybe take a Cinco or bottom bouncer, check in, nothing, pull up and leave, right? Or go to a different area and then spot lock again and break a spot down, especially at the Delta. Bass that are hanging around points, areas where there's water here and then water there. And then when the tides change, water pulls out and it all has to go through like a choke point, those kinds of things, anything like that, the key stuff that's just really good, spot lock, break it down, and then move to a different area there, spot lock, break it down, right? And fish that stuff thoroughly. You'd be surprised, you'll do so much better fishing. Spot lock has been, like I said, the most important thing. But like I said, now during a lot of times of the year when there's no wind, it's not all super crazy, in a nice that live scope though, when you don't need spot lock, you're just kind of cruising the shoreline, relatively decent weather, not a lot of party boaters throwing giant waves at you, and you're trying to find fish, that live scope is awesome. So there's a balance to it. Those are the two best things out in fishing right now. Anything a poor man can spend 150 on a fish finder, anything that would help. Yeah, the little, what is it? Is it the little honey, whatever this something is, hummingbird, one that Walmart sells for like 150 to 199. It kind of sucks. It's basic, but you know what though? If you dial it in right and your boat's not moving real fast, that sucker actually works really good. And I've seen fish clear as day on there. Dropped down on them and caught it. My first boat that I ever got, I got in 2012 or 13, and it was a 1986 Champion Bayliner, beat up little thing, but it was like, had new carpet and stuff, but an old motor. It gave me a lot of trouble. I had it for about 4 years. I caught lots of monsters out of that. I did, a lot of fishing out of that. Had a lot of fun. And on that boat, my first fish finder was, it didn't even come with, like, had like a $50 fish finder, just sucked, right? Nothing. So I took that off and I installed like 150 to the $199 Walmart one, and ran my transducer, all that. And I was able to do so much better than not having a fish finder, because I could just fish, right? Blind fish, do. But then whenever I seen one, like, oh shoot. And then I could either drop down for it, or I would notice if I've been focusing in 50 or 60 and I see a couple of nice ones in 20 or 25 or 15, well, shoot me, I better start fishing shallower, or vice versa. I'm sitting out in the 30 or 40 and I'm casting in 5 to 20, and I start seeing big schools or nice 3 or 4 bass sitting on the bottom here and there in 30, 35. Well, shoot me, I better start fishing deeper, right? So that basic fish finder is better than nothing, man. Um, it's all in perspective how you look at it. Sometimes you can see hook holes of previous catches on a bass. Sometimes they have giant gashes in their face, big wounds. Sometimes you just have little tiny puncture wounds. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. When you think you see a school, when I first had my basic fish finder that didn't have down scan and it just had traditional, it helped way better than having nothing. But there were times when I got all excited and thought there were fish and I dropped right into trees. And I'm like, oh, I got a pin outright and things out. LOL. Well, I hope it helps, man. We're always here. Every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I always do the live stream. I'm always cool to chat and answer questions. And, we could literally have a conversation all night. And I may have something planned, but the ultimate goal is to get you guys to interact. The ultimate goal is to entertain, to educate, to have fun, though, and enjoy our company on the platform while we're on for a few hours, right? And then if you're watching this later, to get a kick out of watching it. So I like, how we have a good time. We tell some jokes here and there, but mostly we keep it fishing. We try to help each other. And the cool thing is the community is super cool. So if I don't have an answer, someone here usually will. And then you may ask, or someone may ask a question, and we all may have different opinions on it. And none of us will attack each other as who's right or wrong. So it's a pretty cool little place here that we've as I always say, we, so if you guys don't think I'm crazy, I mean, as a community, as a fishing community, common sense fishing here on the channel, we is me and all of you guys, right? Um, so that's why I use that pejorative or whatever it's called, and talk about it like that. But, anyways, yep. So it's cool. You can, another thing is pre-position yourself before you hit spot, so that if you're traveling and you decide, oops, I want to stop right here and fish, don't hit spot lock while you're smashing on your trolling motor and you're 10 feet. By the time it analyzes all the data, now it's got to smash you backwards, and the boat's all heaving and lurching, or you're kicking up dirt and sending out like shock waves of like sound and vibration everywhere, like from your trolling motor wash, spinning and moving all around, because you probably got it on 10 or you're running it super high. And then you're like, oh, stop here, spotlight, and then the wind kicks up. Next thing you know, you're like, oh, damn. Then you got to reposition yourself. Position yourself, and then always know that the nose of the boat at the end of the day will be faced into the wind. So figure out how you're going to want to fish, and then position yourself to where when you hit the spot lock button, then the boat doesn't move around much. Then you can start fishing, and you're not halfway through your retrieval, and the boat starts spinning like this on you. And you're like, hey, wait, oh, I got one. Ah, shit, and you're trying to set the hook over your shoulder like that or something, like you're casting. I've been there, done that. Trust me. Yep, exactly. Spot lock, catch a couple and move. Spot lock, do the same. Fish finders go cheap. Yeah, they sure do. Like I said, you can buy a cheap old one on Walmart, for whatever. But yeah, I do suggest you spend the extra 100 or so, get one on sale, or Bass Pro Shops that has down scan is important, because it will show you the difference between a school of bass on 2D and a and actually brush or trees on or on 2D versus traditional sonar. Um, so sonar will show you what's down there, but 2D will actually, or downscan will actually lay it out for you like a picture almost. So it's a lot better. Downscan was great. I remember when I went to my first downscan fish finder from that stupid old one. I was like, "This is magic." I was like, "Oh my god, look, there's fish!" And then I would go drop down and catch them. I was like, I was like all dumbfounded. I was like, "This is so freaking easy." And then I would see some shit and I'd be like, "Oh, those are trees." And I would look over at 2D and I'd be like, "Ah, ha, ha." I get fooled by those all the time and think they were fish, you know. And and then you would see some where you'd see fish that look like trees, trees that look like fish, but you look over on your down scan and you can see what's what. You're like, yeah, you got to have down scan for sure. But any tips on taking a boat out for the first time? Do you need to anchor your boat? No, you don't. If you have a decent trolling motor, you can have an anchor with you if you want. Depends on how big your boat is, though. It's going to take up space, it's going to take up room. It can actually be more dangerous. Tripping hazard, you know, if it's not a big old ski boat or like a boat that's meant to have an anchor, or you're not in like a tin can or a floating raft where you're actually using an anchor intentionally. If it's a little aluminum or fiberglass, an anchor's not really needed. Just make sure that your batteries are good. You have plenty of gas in the tank, oil, and make sure that you know, let people know. One of the most important things is let people know that you're going fishing so that if you don't show up, people can go look for you. For example, let's just say you don't get hurt and die, but your boat dies out. You drive up lake, your boat runs out of gas or breaks down, your trolling motor only gets you a third of the way back. You're somewhere in the middle of bumfark Egypt in the middle of the lake, and his sun's going down or something. No one's up there and now and you don't have no control. Your trolling motor is just dying and getting deader and deader and deader. Next thing you know, the waves just push you up. Next thing you know, you're stuck on shore, and you don't know if there's mountain lions up there. You're frightened. You don't know what to do, right? So if someone knows that you're going fishing, they can at least send someone out to look for you. Then when they see your truck and trailer but no boat, then they'll go out and then they can see you, hopefully, huddled up safe on your boat or on shore, you know, uh, and that could really save your life. Another one is if it's your first time, take a friend, take someone who knows boating. If it's your first time, so they can walk you the proper procedures of unhitching, hitching your boat, how best to load it and unload it without taking a year and pissing everyone off around you. Kind of boat etiquette, where you should park your boat or how you park it, how the trailer's whole setup works. So taking an experienced guy with you your first time helps. But if you're brave, you don't really need to. Just be attentive to your surroundings, understand how the boat mechanics work as far as when you're pulling a boat, how it turns. If you cut your turn sharp, your trailer can smash into things, get caught on things, go off curbs. So, making sure, here's a big one, making sure that you have the right ball for the hitch, because you could have a 2-inch hitch and a 1 3/4 inch ball and it could seem like it fits but have a little play and pop off while you're driving. Super simple, stupid stuff you may not think about that matters. Because if you've never had a boat before, you don't understand, or you may not think of, unless you work with trailers and other stuff a lot, the differences between hitch sizes. Um, but do you have a transom saver? How do you set up what keeps your motor propped up when you drive? That's super important so that when you launch your boat, if someone else had given you the boat and delivered it to you in this way, and now you take it on the water, but you don't know how to put it back together that way with the straps correctly, then you go to transport it and you hit a bump wrong and your motor slams down and hits the ground. You take off the stabilizer bar, screw up your propeller, and then you might even need a new lower end, right? So um, there's a like the 101s of boating, make sure you look up or just understand the mechanics of that. That's my advice on your first time. Because, to true story, my first time with my first boat, I didn't know what hitch size he was going to have. And it was my first time really with owning a truck and owning, pulling stuff, and I never pulled anything before. So I got in a hitch, I got a setup, but they had installed at like Pet Boys or whatever. I got it installed at. They had installed a 1 3/4 or something hitch, and the ball, I think on his boat was a 2-inch hitch. And the guy that sold me the boat knew it. He looked at it. I kind of seen make something. He said something, and he even told me. He didn't tell me, though. He didn't enlighten me, and he just said, "Good luck getting it home." He sold it to me and laughed, and I'm lucky it didn't come undone. And I've had a boat come undone before like that. It's scary. And when I kind of had a cheap broken boat that I tried to play with and messing with it, and it worked here and there back a long long time ago, like before this one, let's say, but I don't count that one. That's the one that came disattached. But my boat, I've had, I didn't know I needed to really secure the transom saver and everything correctly the way it did, and the motor bounced up one time, and the transom saver fell off. The motor smashed down. I've been That's happened to me 2 or 3 times, and I went through propellers basically on my first boat. So lots of dumb mistakes. I didn't, you only leave your plug out once. I've never done that mistake, thank goodness, but I've been in a boat when my friend did. It's scary. So actually twice, and it was their boats both times. But so just simple stupid stuff, and watch, when you're driving, how fast your boat goes. Be safe, and just don't test it driving in 2 feet of water going 50 miles an hour. I mean, wouldn't recommend it. So just some simple common sense there. But put the plug in. Hey, Racho Bunch, what's cracking, brother? Eastman was windy as yes, it was. 2,500 for the Ultrex. Don't get the Tarova. I don't even think they sell that thing anymore. I got the piece of crap one that is broken. Basically, it has spot lock, but it doesn't control itself on how many times it spins around, and it eats up and destroys transducer cords, like the Cookie Monster goes through cookies. So it's all bad. It's super horrible. It sucks big time. There's nothing you can do about it. It just ugh. So I went out and spent 2,600 or so, 2,800 on it, a long time ago, and I it's a it's a piece of junk basically, but it has spot lock, so it's not. But I can't use a fish finder up front. So what I have to do is use the fish finder in the back, and I have a nice one, and then I put it on a swivel. And so when I'm driving, I have it facing me. And then when I park the fish, I just loosen the swivel, turn the fish finder around, and then retighten it. And then when I'm fishing from the front of the boat, I can see what's behind me. So if I pass over big fish deep, a school of fish, or fish come underneath me, I can see it, and it's just in the back of the boat, not the front of the boat. And I can swing the back around and check stuff out. It's just like I'm just using like my caboose, just putting the butt of the boat around wherever I want. And it's just, I know the cone's back there instead of up here. So I have to like reverse my, thinking on where the fish are located. But I still use it and it works. But spot lock's the more important thing to me. But I do wish I had a really nice operating fish finder. But a Tarova just is garbage because, like I said, it'll spin more times around in a circle than it should, and it snaps cords because it's got a very powerful motor, and it's just all bad. I do have a second channel, so not is it the Tarova or what do I have? I have the Tarova, I think. So mine's horrible. Mine is just oh. Good evening, Hilf. No, nice to see you on. Oh yeah. Also, by the way, folks, if you're local or in the area, we're going to be having a common sense get together. So I'm thinking late May, before June comes. I'm looking at hosting a barbecue and having a nice fun get together with some prizes for everybody. So you don't have to spend any money. It's free, drinks, food, all that. And we'll be hosting it at a lake somewhere so we can fish and hang out at the same time. Maybe we'll do members. If you come out, I'll do an hour, depending on how many members show up, either a half hour or an hour trip each person out on the lake. And again, I don't claim to be a pro or anything, but if you want to go practice like a specific technique, or just even if we don't catch a fish on it, you want to know in what conditions, where, or how would I throw, say, a jerk bait, a crankbait, a spinnerbait? How would I work top water at Don Pedro or McClure? Or how would I work, even if it's not the ticket right now, but you just want to see like how I fish that stuff, or so hear some tips, or you just want to go on a trip with me, we'll do something like that as well. So, but we'll only have so much time frame, so it depends on how many people show up, yada yada. But I'm looking into doing that this month, and hoping it'll be a success. So we'll see. I kind of tested the water, and a lot of Facebook want to come, so they say. So we'll see if they show up, and we're putting the announcement out on YouTube as well. So if you want to come, get a hold of me. I'll get a time and date, when it gets closer, and place as well, like what lake we're going to be at. I was thinking Pedro, but it's just too damn expensive to get in. So either I'm looking at like New Maloney's or the Delta or something. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be fun. The Ultra is a good one. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Michael McLennan, I have a second channel, and it's about politics, the news. It's about my opinion on the world. It's about like stories of my past. It's also like movie review stuff, like game review stuff, or just like my take on anything and everything. It's kind of like the me channel trying to connect to you channel type thing, where it's like I do a lot of everything, but it's a lot of like more opinionated stuff where it's me personally, not talking fishing. So it's a bunch of different stuff like that, but usually centered around current events and news. But it's not unlike me to dive into, say, pop culture, do a movie review, a song review, talk about something conspiratorial, to talk about religion, aliens, afterlife, stuff like that. Lots of different fun stuff. Excuse me. It's a real small channel. I don't have a lot of growth over there. I don't go put a ton of effort into it yet, because it's just I try to plug it every now and then if people join, the more people that I go and do some more videos here and there, and then even when I forget about it, every once in a while I go drop in and upload a few videos. So it's not a dead channel at all, but it's just a small channel. It's called Common Sense Talks. So it's the obvious sister channel to this one, right? Or brother channel, technically. I don't know if it's in there, if it's in info. Do you put it in a garden or have other hobbies? Yeah, I garden. I have a massive garden in the backyard. Every plant in my house produces food. I'm gonna get into canning. So this year I'm gonna be canning all my fruits that are not gonna be consumed within so much time of them being ripe and ready. I don't want them to go bad and go to waste. So we're gonna make jams, jellies, preserves. We're also going to can stuff. So I've got like onions, carrots, potatoes. I've got corn. I've got peppers, tomatoes, cilantro. I've got cantaloupe, watermelon. I've got squash. I've got cucumber. I've got snap peas, snow peas. I've got radishes. Um, I've got some herbs and stuff, spices. I've got, and then tree wise, every tree has fruit. So I have a peach tree that's huge. I have an apricot tree. I have 2 grapevines. I have a lemon tree. I have a calamondin tree. I have a fig tree that's super bomb. Oh, those figs are bomb. And then I have a orange tree. I have another plum. I have a plum tree. I have 2 apple trees. I have 2 cherry trees. Then in the front, I have a tangerine, a plum, peach, jewel tree, and I have a apple tree in front of that. And so, yeah, I'm a jack of all trades. I do heating and air conditioning. So occasionally I'll drop videos talking about electrical. Like I know how to wire breakers, circuits, heating, electrical, heating, air conditioning, brazing, welding, most mechanic theory, stuff like that. I have a Rumble channel, Twitter handle. I got Instagram, all that stuff. So Sambo209 on Instagram. I think it's like Samuel Matthews 209 on Twitter, Samuel Matthews on Facebook. And so, I've been trying, but it's, I'm a family man. I've got a lot of different hobbies. So I try to put enough of effort and time into them to be productive and meaningful, or else I don't usually do them. So sometimes, some hobbies take a round robin. I might do them every other year or whatever have you. But 12 volt or 24 volt? Well, 24 volt for sure. Yeah, get together tourney. Yeah, I'm looking at hosting a little turkey shoot that's under the table, because you can't have a big tournament without Fish and Games approval. This will kind of be just some friends, having a playful wager, bet, or fun time type of thing. But we're gonna have the idea is I'm gonna get tri-tip, ribs, chicken, stuff like that. We'll do a big barbecue. I'll have like some chips and dip, some potato salad, stuff like that for sides. We're gonna have a big, nice barbecue, free food for everybody. We're gonna have drinks, sodas, water, stuff like that. Then we're gonna have some lures, a couple of, some decent little cheap combos up, and we're gonna take a couple of items from the background here, and we're gonna have a raffle for free, so a giveaway, right? And then I'm gonna take just to maybe potentially help out, but just probably won't, but whatever, if anyone's interested. I'll probably bring a few really nice high end items, and we'll do some tickets where you can actually buy tickets, so like $5 a ticket, or 5 tickets for $20 or something. And we'll raffle off maybe like a couple of Niner autographed items, or a really well known baseball player autograph card, or say baseball, or someone, try to grab a couple things from different interests. I've got Jason Voorhees autograph. I've got, politicians. I've got sports stars. I've got movie stars and actors. Got a lot of different collectible stuff. I got rare toys and things. So I might, try to bring a couple of mixed. And if people are interested, we'll put the stuff out there. We'll let them get some tickets. But that's like the least of my concern. That's just a side thing. I want to let people know, so that, if they're interested, they can support that way. It's a way to support the channel and maybe help just blunt some of the costs, as it won't be cheap, but it won't be too expensive, because I'll be providing everything myself. So I just have to buy X amount, a couple $100 worth of meat, and get out there and cook it, get some food, stuff some plates, and then I'll put a couple $100 worth of lures and some things together, get a couple items here. So all in all, probably be in 500-600 bucks. So if I get a cool couple items and people are interested, might make up a little for it. But if not, whatever. The idea is we're gonna have a cool get together. We'll do it at a lake. So yeah, we can have maybe a little 2 to 4 hour shootout, or 6 hour shootout or something, and have a little fun, but also just have a nice barbecue. Everybody get to hang out, meet up, and have a little bit of fun with it. So, Lucas Edwards for sure. Yeah. I don't keep fish, but if I ever need to, yeah, I'm not going to hurt for food. I don't eat for free because I have a big family. Um, when my mom passed away, I moved my dad and brother in with me. So we've got a big family. We got like 8 people in the house. I got a big old, nice home to take care of everybody, but it's packed, with everybody. And that's a lot of mouths to feed. So I've got enough in the backyard to where it helps a lot during summertime and fall. And so it limps you through. But we had some waste. So I'm wanting to can a lot of the food this year. So we'll have some more sustainability. And also, one thing about food wise, I'm a huge sticky rice eater. So I have a couple of bins of sealed so no bugs or anything can get into it, sticky rice. And regular rice and some beans too. So if there's ever hard times, I know how to fish. I've got what I need. And then I'm pretty self sustainable in the backyard to grow, like I got cilantro and onions and basil. And, I've got all the stuff to make some salsa or pico de gallo fresh. I'll have all the seeds to replant. I had a huge backyard, and most of it's raised beds and or just the perimeter planted with all fruit. Grapevine I planted. Cool little story about that is it comes from 100-year-old grape tree. I went to go do an air conditioning call for a guy who's like 92 years old. He's a World War II vet, and this was like 10 years ago or more, right? And or 8 years ago or something. And he buys an air conditioner from me, and he really likes me. I go and I do some work, underneath the house to seal some duct work up. I show up with the install crew. Then I got clothes out, and I collect from him and all that. And when we're going, he's showing me his garden. He was talking about how he has a grapevine that was from the 18 or 1700s or something like that, that it had been kept alive, and or like early 1800s or something like that, or late 1800s. But it was from whenever like the town had first been established. It was one of the oldest homes in Merced, and it was uh, the grapevine was been as old as the home was, and he said that got brought from somewhere, and it's this old grape that you don't see no more. They're smaller but not too small, and they're extremely sweet, like tastes like you're eating Kool-Aid. Like when you let them ripen good, they taste so strong. And so anyways, what he did is he gave me some cuts. He let me go cut some branches when it was all dormant. It was perfect. So we were talking about it when I sold him the AC. So when I came back, he had all these cuts lined out for me, and I brought them home. And two of them, man, they're awesome. They're some of the best grapes I've ever had, but they're smaller. So cool little side note. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, hey, I take care of friends and family. To me, friends are family. I'm a weird one. In life, I've come to accept and realize that we don't have as many friends as we think, as far as real friends that would do a lot for you, die for you, or even not just that, but just really help you out when you really needed it type thing. And there's a lot of halfway friends, and really in life, that's honestly all you need is just some decent friends. If you have some good friends, that's the best. But they're hard to come by because people are just so, our decisions and our mind can change, and, things can happen. And it's just so crazy that I've seen in life. I've had groups of friends at one time, almost 100 people or more, where they almost, I thought they were good friends, and then you fast forward into life where you have two or three good friends, and that's about it, maybe four or five now, you know. And I think of friends as family, so I try to take care of people, and I'm open to make new friends too. It's just I'm also kind of, I don't hold a grudge, but the way I look at it is when someone's shown to have just too much drama, they're just too negative, or just too, like, I don't clash, like we clash too much. I'm not gonna make an over effort to be someone's friend. And I'm not gonna be mean either and down them. I'm just not gonna place myself in that person's company or try to avoid it, right? So over the years, you figure stuff out. I don't know how old you are. I'm only 40, so, but feel like I'm 50. Been homeless. I've been, my firstborn son's passed away. I've been lived in the ghetto, lived in decent neighborhoods. I've been in foster care. I've been here, there. I've been in good places and in bad places. So I'm very grateful for where I'm at. So I like taking care of people. I like spreading joy and happiness. That's why I do this channel. Spread the love of fishing and some information, some tips and tricks to share. To have a great community and to hopefully one day build something financially out of it would be nice. That's the also part of the goal, but realistically, I don't think I'm ever going to make a living on YouTube, or if I do, that would be great. But that's not ever going to be my only income or my sole goal, because YouTube can censor you or pull the rug out from under you, or something can happen at any time. Which is also why I'm a skilled tradesman. I work with my hand. I do heating and air. I'll do electrical. I'll do some light plumbing. I get down, and so on my other channel, which is, if you guys are interested, Common Sense Talks, I cover a lot more just broad subjects like that. And here on Common Sense Fishing, I go down the rabbit hole, especially if you guys pull me down. I don't resist very much. We could be talking fishing. Next thing you know, I'm like waking up out of a stupor in a sense, like, how did we get stuck on a 30-minute rant about Brandon, or this or that, or how do we do this again? So, but thanks for hanging out, everybody. We got a little bit more time. Smash that like. I appreciate everybody on tonight. If you guys get a chance to hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe. Welcome to the channel. But if you guys have any topics or anything, this is where at the end of the video, see, we still got about a half an hour, but I like to ask your guys' opinions and questions now on what would you like to see coming up in the next few weeks. What kind of videos do you want me to produce? Do you want me to do some more whiteboard tips and tricks where I'll actually take my GoPro, I'll get the lighting perfect, and I'll basically draw out my tips and tricks on a whiteboard to try to visualize what I'm saying, and in what conditions, and yada yada, why I do what I do some of those. If you guys want to see me, talk about certain lures or techniques, this is that part of the show where I really like to get your guys' input on things. Maybe I'm doing wrong, I'm doing right, what you'd like to see, anything you guys want to discuss. And, I kind of always leave the floor open to you guys. How did you get your knowledge from your old man? My old man didn't give me much knowledge like from fishing and stuff like that. My dad is a great man. I love him very much. He's still alive. He taught me a lot of things. He's more of a simple man, actually. He's kind of slow. I love him to death. He's great. But he taught me the most important lesson of all, and that's to be a man, and to be honest, and to be decent, and to he's God fearing. I'm a little bit, I'm not very religious. I believe in God, but he's a Christian man. And his biggest thing has always been to always stand up for myself and others, but to never bully or hurt, to don't lie, steal, and chill. Of course, I've done those things, and with a heavy heart, I can say I've done dumb things in my life, but I tried to live up to his expectation of what a man is, because out of all the flaws, he's not rich. He was a poor man, worked in a factory and speckled sugar all his life. He's not the smartest. He's kind of slow, like I said, but he is one of the best men I've ever met. As far as he give you the shirt off his back, and sometimes he has just some golden advice. So, but fishing wise, I didn't learn shit from my dad, so I didn't understand the question. Maybe has anyone tried trolling for bass around the shallow spots for chips and giggles? Oh yeah, trolling for bass. We talked about that earlier. Guilty is charged. Works hella good, dude. Just if you don't want to get snagged, you can do it shallow. You can do it deep. Take and troll a spinnerbait. Perfect lure to troll. So just adjust your speed, and I suggest using the trolling motor, not the big motor. You're just going to make a lot of noise, and you're going to go a little too fast. You don't want to get your line in the motor. but stay on that trolling motor, cover water, talk on your phone, eat, take your soda, drink your beer, whatever, smoke your cigarette or whatever, and your little break, and hold your pull out in your hand. If you see a spot that you want to go to and it's not too far away, instead of hitting the big motor, you're going to trolling motor over there, troll on the way from point A to point B. You'll be surprised how much fish you catch doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. I always do it, but you don't ever see it in the videos. I think in one or two I caught one, and we're laughing hysterically as I'm reeling in, where you might hear us discussing trolling. But it happens. Just need a good clickbait picture to go viral. That's the idea, is when I, not just to do clickbaity, because I don't really want to be clickbaity. I just want to be a little more clean and professional with the channel. But I'm not the, I'm pretty decent, but I'll be honest, I'm not the brightest bulb in the bunch with some of the software. I could be, and I'm really smart and I can use the programs, editing software, all this good stuff, but I don't have the time to learn. You know what I mean? You got to, some of this is so complicated. You got to figure out where to start from the ground up, because there's so many tutorial videos. You can't just start in the middle, right? So you can start, YouTube videoing. How do I do this on Adobe Premiere? How do I do that? So there's all these crazy different software, editing software and this and that I could use and do, but I haven't found the time to really sit down and learn it well enough to honestly make like a really high end um, thumbnails too. Because the other thing is, you can only let's see, remove the message. You can only upload like a certain gigabyte size, right? So there's all these stupid parameters, and I'm not the biggest techie wizard with that. So hopefully one day I can either spend some time and get those skills down, especially if we grow the channel enough and there's incentive enough for me, I'll do it myself. Or I could hire someone or get someone to do that for me, or at least temporarily bring someone in to teach me and show me, and then I won't need them anymore, right? But yeah, that's some of the stuff. If I can make some better thumbnails, that's really important. I make shitty thumbnails, and I make decent videos, but I'll just use a randomly generated thumbnail instead of uploading one. Where what I have to do is, throughout the video, I either have to take a picture from that trip, or I have to take a still shot and then of the video, and then download it and re-upload it into an editing software, and then do all the woo-ha to it. And then, yeah, it's just a lot. So I don't, with 5 kids or 4 kids in the house right now, and trying to have a side hustle of doing my own heating and air business, but running around doing all kinds of different stuff. It's a lot of time sucked up trying to do that. So, but the more I see the channel grow, the more I get like fired up to do all that, because I could. It's just like, you know, right now I make like 60 to 80 bucks a month on YouTube. So it pays for the gas for one fishing trip. But you snowball it, in maybe 5, 10 years, you're making enough to pay your bills at least. Some guys, they have when you get over 100,000 subs, you do pretty good for yourself. But I'm not really worried too. I mean, I would love for that. I mean, that's why I think critically like that. But also, my main goal is to just keep it real, to not like, see, I don't stage shit. I don't like, I do giveaways. That's the most like cheesy thing you could accuse me of, was, oh, you do giveaways to try to get subscribers. I'll tell you what happens with my giveaways. I'll get people that come in, they subscribe to try to get free crap, and then when they don't win, they unsubscribe or they're gone after a week or two. You'll watch the count go up and then kind of go back down. You might pick up 1 or 2 stragglers, but the way I get subscribers on YouTube is by putting out decent content and just people finding it and liking it, and saying, hey, I like that video. Maybe you don't like all my videos, but just putting out stuff, some, and then getting more and more in, like a big dragnet. But the algorithm's not helping too much. My thumbnails aren't the greatest, but this live stream's fun. I love doing it. So I like when you guys hang out, we get to chat, and we talk about fishing and all kinds of cool stuff. So this is a great little community here. So hopefully we can build this up too. That's why I kind of do a bunch of different stuff on this channel. I do actual live fishing trips. I go out and fish, We do the live stream here, where we can have memberships available. We do giveaways to try to incentivize memberships. Memberships get early access. People sometimes super chat and help out. So there's a lot of different ways to diversify the channel. And then hopefully in 5 or 10 years, especially if I win a few tournaments, I'm able to get a few guests on, or do some collaborative work. But so far, either I guess my brand is unique and guys don't want to touch me, or they're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't bug too. Like I don't message people and be like, hey, you want to do a video together? Reach out, and especially to a channel that's a lot bigger than me. Hey, you want to take this little guy? You want to go fishing with me? So there's some other smaller channels that are in my size range that we've discussed, but nothing's really came of anything. So but again, I'm not a clout chaser. I try to keep super real and just be me. And hopefully, you know, I've been told, especially sometimes, man, like in class, I was always a joker, class clown. Like if I want to, and we're not talking fishing, I could keep a smile on your guy's face. I could be talking shit all night. I could be telling stories. I might offend a few people though, so I usually keep that stuff away. But shoot, get me going, I can go. What's the best fish for fish tacos? Oh, that's easy. Probably a panfish like a bluegill or a crappie. So, dude, do, do, do. I think the whiteboard fish and tips explaining your thought process and how you decide to break down the lake for fishing. Thanks, Chufu. Appreciate it. I can do a couple more of those. What's the best? Oh, we already did that. Fish tacos. Good question. Fish tacos. I love fish tacos. Did do a video on reading a depth finder for sure. I got dial in my. It's already dialed in, but I can show you guys how to play with it, adjust it, how to use it for certain things, how to find islands with your maps, if you have a topographical, especially. Um, so, growing up as a kid, I always seen 1 inch glow in the dark sticks at fishing stores. Used them as a kid as the sun went down while camping. Never knew exactly what they were for. Right? So, you good bite indicator you put on your pole or your line. I've not heard you talk about walleye any in your lake. If so, no, cool to hear about how to target both. Well, here we don't have walleye, pike, stuff like that. And I'm a West Coast angler, but if I mean I have fished like Florida once, not on the channel, but I'd like to. I fished Florida before. I fished New Mexico and I fished Arizona before. Arizona, I think, is on the channel. Um, I think I did a YouTube video for my Arizona trip, but not from Florida. And northern fishing, I haven't really done any of that recently. I've done some Oregon fishing for like smallmouth and trout, but I won't pretend to know about stuff I don't know about. So, I defer you. There's a lot of great pike and walleye channels, but I'd assume a fish is a fish, an aggressive fish is going to be similar to target. From what I understand, it's just you need to worry about their mouth or teeth, right? Breaking lures, lines. So there's specific stuff you use for them. I'm pretty sure, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes for them. Sorry about that. Notify the fish like, hey, there's something down here to attract them. The the glow sticks are bite indicators. You can put it on your tip, and when your tip even moves a little bit, when that glow stick, when your tip's sitting there, even if there's waves, and the glow stick's doing this, and the waves or wind, and then it goes, you'll see that. Well, almost anything else you won't. And a lot of the times there'll be bites that your bell may not pick up. And believe it or not, even bait fishing, sometimes a little bite like this can be some real big fish. But a lot of time, bait fishing, big fish, they pick it up. They pick it up, and then your pole just goes right over. You don't need that glow light, but it helps at night, So how to come up on your graph mark, and how to know that you're casting over the proper area. The video could include finding the mark, marking it, then driving back to it, and how you set up on that mark. Yeah, I use mine's unique, so I could do it, but then explain it like if yours is in the front of your boat, just use the same thinking, right? And what I do is I mean, I'll make a video on that for sure, but it'll be in a graph video. We'll do a graph video. What you need to know is your graph speed. So basically, how long does it take for the graph to detect an image and then send it back to you and relay that on the screen versus how fast your boat's traveling. And then you can really start to see, okay, this fish is right here. That's when I seen it, but it might be actually a foot past that because of those factors. Depending on how deep you are, how shallow you are, the wind, everything will play a role. And if I see something and I know it was there, it. So what I'll do is depending on how I want to approach that spot, I might go past it and continue going past it, and then spot lock and just eyeball the spot, fish past it. I'll use things on the shore or double. I'll use two things sometimes. So if the shore is going kind of like this, I may use a marker that's near the shoreline. So I cross over it, I see it, I know that fish is right there, right? And then I see there's a particular boulder that lines up with that fish. I'll use that as a marker, and then I'll also use another object or something. And then if I come around, I know exactly where that spot is located, and then I can pounce on it. Oh, nice. I left a tip on a comment on intuitive angling. That's how I found your video. I'm always blasting that guy's channel to my people. I always tell him, go check his channel out. I like him. He's a really nice dude. He doesn't have like a chip on his shoulder. He always will acknowledge that there's other ways to do it, but here's what he does, right? And he's a legit pro. He works with Fish the Moment, that younger dude who happens to be in with a lot of really high end tournament anglers. It's a very good channel to get some good knowledge from. And then all knowledge, I don't ever take it as like godly gospel. What I do is I take it and I incorporate it into mine. And then I just try things when I'm out fishing and I'll remember. Because if it sounds like it makes sense, then I double or triple or quadruple think about it so that part of it or most of that message is burned into my brain. So then I'm out fishing. I'm like, oh yeah, Randy said to do this, or intuitive angling, the kid said offshore to do that, or hey, Scott Martin or whoever, or Thai Pig Patrol or Milliken or whoever said do that or do this. Now there's not a lot of guys on the internet nowadays that actually give up legit tips and actual ways to catch fish. They'll give you some stuff, but they don't give you it all. I try to give as much as I can, into where sometimes I think it's too much. And again, I'm not saying I know it all, but I had a lot of years of fishing and I've had a lot of big fish. And I can at least tell you guys how I've caught the big ones, how the better stuff's come, what I've done. Does that mean that when I go out fishing, I don't always make the best decisions? I don't always go out and crush it. Sometimes even everything inside me screaming that in these conditions, if I was on my YouTube channel, I'd be saying, do this, do that, do this. And over here, I'm doing something else completely different, being stubborn, right? Because I'm lazy or I'm fighting the wind or I'm just not in the mood. Maybe I'm depressed a little, been in a slump, or I'm really excited and I'm overly anxious and I'm forcing the bite. I'm going to get him on a crankbait and topwater. And 6 hours later, I'm still throwing the crankbait and topwater, and the guy in the back catches a 4 pounder on a Cinco. Like, oh, I should have been slowing down, you know? So I make dumb decisions. We all do, but I try to always keep it real, share what I got, and hope that that's enough to entertain and to educate and bring people back. So thanks for showing up from there, though. Yeah, Randy's a great channel, man. Graph speed, is that the same as ping speed? Yeah, but it's just understanding like at what like how long is the delay in when your ping is actually hitting the bottom and then coming back up, the graph translating it and actually displaying it on the screen versus also how fast your boat's moving. And you'll get to understand that um, usually it's a little bit lagged a little more than you think. The better fish finders, not so much. The older ones, a lot more so. But like take your lure, and if you have a good fish finder, here's a good example of it. You want to dial your cone in. Take your lure and put it down, and you should see your line on your fish finder. You should see your lure every time you pop it and hop it. And in mine, because it's in the back, I'll do that, and then I'll be surprised where my fish finder, where my, I'll think my lure is right under the boat and I'll be popping it and hopping it and it won't show up on my fish finder. And then it might be behind the boat a bit and I'll be popping it and then all of a sudden it'll show up. And that tells me my cone is maybe my fish finder is slightly off level a little bit, so it's sending the cone behind me just a foot or two, and then maybe the boat is maybe weighed down. So let's say the fish finder is off like this, and so maybe there's excess weight in the back. Maybe the live well's full of water. Maybe I have another person with me, and so the back is just sunken in just a little bit more, changes the angle just a little bit. Understanding that kind of stuff and just getting used to it so you can plan accordingly. And always, it doesn't hurt to cast past the fish a little bit, especially if the fish is on the bottom. Then you can just bring your lure to the fish eventually. It just sucks if you think you know where it's at and then you cast short. Then that's or right on the fish and hit it in the head. Sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times you want to cast past it so that as the lure is coming towards the fish, it has time to see it and check it out. Then the lure's coming to it and it can eat it. And then if the lure's going away, it still has a little bit of time versus if it just lands right in front of its face. Sometimes that's how you get a reactionary bite, right? But if the fish are real slow, and they actually want to see it move a bit, or not super slow, but a little sluggish. There's many different retrievals, right? Popping in and hopping it fast. Sometimes those fish are much more aggressive. There's so much to fishing, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. It's intuition. You get to putting it all together, after you've been doing it long enough. And for those of you guys who have been doing it a long time, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys probably much better anglers than me. Some of you guys maybe equal or just under or whatever. But the idea is we're all getting better, and we're none of us are Kevin Van Dam. So I like to learn from you guys as well. Sometimes I'll see some comments in there that I'm like, yeah, that's pretty smart. You know, I like to always call it R&D, rip off and duplicate. My R&D department, right? If I see something that works, I'm going to steal it and do it too. I'm not a fool. I'm going to do what Mama didn't raise no fool. Whatever's working, that's what I'm going to do. So if you're catching fish on a crankbait and I'm drop shotting, why would I want to drop shot? I'm going to throw a crankbait too, or maybe a spinnerbait. Right? If you're getting big old fish on glide baits, you better bet I'm digging around and pulling out my S Wave or 250 or 200, and I'm going to try my hardest or my hood or whatever, you know. But if I don't see someone catching them, I'm not going to pull out my hood or my S Wave, or I'm going to be throwing whatever else. But I'm also not a 100% go with the flow guy. Just because you're catching a fish on something doesn't mean I'm going to throw that. I'll analyze it. If you're catching hella big fish on it, then yeah, I probably will, right? But sometimes I'll be in a boat with somebody and they may catch a couple fish on a shaky head and swear that, hey, why don't you put on a shaky head? Dude, shut up. Leave me alone. We're fishing, man. I'm fun. I'll catch one on a spinner bait, or if not, I'll throw a jig or something else. Like you tell me, throw this, throw that. Stop telling me what to throw, dude. Leave me alone. I don't like when people tell you what to throw. It's like, I'm just gonna fish, dude. Chill. You can maybe every once in a while throw out in but sometimes you go with guys that literally, oh man, they're biting like you gotta throw like that. It's like, bro, That's your first fish. Calm down. We don't have a pattern yet. Or five of them have came violently like this or that, and then you get one fish that bites like that, and all of a sudden it's like that's what you got to do. It's like, oh man. So, anyways, fishing, right? I love it. So, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. We just went a few minutes over, so we'll catch you guys on Wednesday. We'll be having the May giveaway soon here, so we'll probably be doing that Friday or next Monday. I'm going to be in Clear Lake, so I might miss a day or two. We're going to have some great footage for you guys. In the meantime, when I go to Clear Lake, I'm going to try to do a couple maybe a whiteboard video. We'll do, while I'm at Clear Lake, I'll try to remember to do a graphing video and to make a few videos while I'm out there at Clear Lake, showing you guys like how to read a graph, how to break it down, how to look at the map and look at the lake and figure out what area you want to fish based on what time of year it is. So we'll maybe do also a couple. We'll break it down to a bunch of different videos and release them at different times. Because we'll talk about, well, where would the fish be in this lake theoretically, right? In spring. How about in summer? How about in fall? How about in winter? That way, whatever time you're there, I have a video that theoretically should cover where I think they'll be based on certain factors, right? And might be wrong, might be right, but I fished Clear Lake a bunch of times. I'm all right at it, but I can get much better, which is why I'm excited to go back, hopefully catch some monsters. So we're gonna have some more videos for you guys. Make sure to put out a couple. There's two more coming out. They're for members right now, have their early access, but before I head out, I'm going to switch it over to public. So you guys should be getting it either this Friday or next week. There's two more videos, a Delta video and a Lake Eastman video. And I take my little German Shepherd puppy fishing for the first time. That's super cute. So you don't want to miss that. Oh, she's so awesome. So, anyways, thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next live stream. Smash that like button on the way out if you haven't already. And appreciate everybody watching. Thank you guys very much for a boxing match. Good one, Mike. All right, you guys take it easy.